Six of the largest capital allocators on Earth just agreed to help finance the AI build-out. Apollo, BlackRock, Blackstone, Brookfield, Goldman Sachs, and KKR. The target is more than $500 billion of third-party capital, mobilized over time. NVIDIA's framing is that compute has stopped being equipment you depreciate and become infrastructure you finance, like power plants, toll roads, or fiber. That's a real structural move, and it deserves to be taken seriously. It's also not signed. These are memorandums of understanding, and the release says so. The partnerships remain subject to execution of the final agreements. What matters here sits in the numbers themselves. Here's the move, and you can run it on anything. Most arguments that ask you for money have two halves. One half is easy to put numbers on, so the author puts numbers on it, heavily, because numbers are the cheapest proof available. The other half is hard to put numbers on, so it goes quiet. The quiet half is where the risk lives. And you don't have to guess where, because the author usually tells you. Somewhere in the same document, there's a concession. A guarantee, a cap, a backstop, a warranty. Think about buying a used car. The listing has mileage, service records, fuel economy, all measured. It says nothing about the transmission. And the seller offers 90 days on the powertrain. Notice it isn't 90 days bumper to bumper. The narrower the guarantee, the more precisely it names the fear. A concession is a number somebody demanded, and its shape tells you who was worried about what. So split NVIDIA's case in half. First half, does the hardware earn? Here, NVIDIA brings receipts, and they're good ones. The A100 from 2020 is still in commercial use 6 years later on multi-year commitments that stretch its economic life toward a decade. 1 year H100 rental went from about $1.70 per GPU hour in October to about $2.35 by March. Blackwell commands a premium, with reported rates for its B200 chips running between $5.30 and $7.05. Every one of those figures answers the same question: whether the machine earns. Second half, what's it worth when the term ends? Residual value. That's the half the entire asset class argument rests on, because an asset you can't resell isn't collateral, it's an expense. On that half, the essay gives you one number. NVIDIA may provide residual value support for up to 25% of an opportunity, assessed project by project. That's the whole of it. The only quantity attached to residual value in the entire case is defensive. Now, be fair to the argument. Huang says that support is substantially lower than other compute financing arrangements, and he's right that it's conservative. This isn't scandalous. But look at what that backstop actually is. 6 of the most sophisticated underwriters alive read this deal, and the one quantified commitment on the table protects the exact half nobody quantified. That's where the professionals price their risk before a dollar moved. Goldman Sachs, in that same release, said the quiet part out loud. Their chief executive is excited, quote, to create a market for credit backed by NVIDIA compute. Credit backed by the compute, which means the value of the compute at the end of the term isn't a side question, it's the collateral. And the people who underwrite equipment for a living are already revising. Amazon shortened its own assumed server life from 6 years to 5, citing the pace of the technology. Mike posted that reading publicly when the announcement landed. Within 2 hours, a vice chairman at 2 compute companies, a portfolio manager, and someone who finances infrastructure for a living had all walked to the same empty spot. None of them needed inside information. They read the same post you can go read right now. Here's the hour. Take the next thing on your desk that's asking you for money or for a signature. A vendor pitch, a contract, an estimate, your own proposal. Draw one line down the middle. On the left, everything the document puts a number on. On the right, everything it asserts without one. Then go hunting for the concession, the guarantee, the cap, the escape clause, the thing they volunteered to give back. Find it and read which side of your line it's protecting. When it's protecting the right-hand column, you've found where the other party thinks the risk is. In their own words, for free. 2 warnings, and they matter. Some things genuinely can't be quantified yet, and that isn't concealment. And this tells you where to look, not who's right. A quiet half doesn't make an argument wrong. If reading things this way is useful, Strategic Thinking Weekly is where Mike writes it down. One issue every week, and it costs nothing.